whatever.
Good morning.
Good morning. Did you get it?
No, it's not adding me in here.
It's not adding them in there. Did you add them?
Yeah, I added him.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Yeah, here it is. Type you.
Okay.
So you just, yeah, would like me to do it. Okay.
Okay, and then hang on. We're adding Andrew.
Hey, Susanna. Good morning. We're trying to get Andrew on here.
We're working on it.
There we go.
Hey, technology, it works.
All right. I'm hanging up.
Okay, we're hanging out.
Okay.
Yeah, we weren't
Test
sure
it
if
out.
this was gonna work or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spirit fingers. You gotta
Yeah.
get closer to me.
I can't believe it actually worked, huh? Never tried it out.
Yeah. All right. So right now I'm sharing the stream. Welcome to the home front. Krista, please introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you, Evan. Welcome to episode 12 of the Home Front. Thank you guys for joining us this morning. Good morning, Lisa. Thank you guys for spending your Wednesday mornings with us. We talk about a little bit about what's going on in real estate, bring you guys topics to help educate you, future home buyers. And this is Evan. I'm Krista with Waters International Realty, buyer specialist. And
Buyer specialist.
I'll let Evan introduce himself.
Evan, buyer specialist. We are a part of the Waters team here. Each and every year, we help over 500 families get into homes. So, yeah, we do this a lot, and we just want to give you guys the tips and the tricks that we use every day to get you guys into a home sooner rather than later. Today on the show, we have the special guest, the credit ninja himself, Mr. Andrew. Thank you for joining the show. He's
Thank you.
helped so many people, guys, so many families get into homes I would say within 6 months or less. But I'll go ahead and let Andrew just kind of introduce himself really quick.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Krista. Thank you, Evan, for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Andrew Nataprita. I'm the owner and CEO of Synergy Credit Services. Started it over a couple years ago because I felt there was a need for a decent credit repair servicing out there. There's lots of horror stories out there, lots of predatory credit repair out there, and a lot of people telling people what they want to hear rather than what they need to hear. But really, fixing credit really isn't too tough, but there's just a couple things that we need to talk about to really boost scores pretty quickly. But at the end of the day, there's not some magical company out there that has some fairy dust that they can sprinkle over these collections and have it disappear overnight. Some things can come off a credit report that do technically belong to you, but the problem is there's not enough education of what to do with positive credit, which is really the majority of your credit. And then the other thing is that, hey, we're not going to get everything off, and that you need to save up money to address collections that are underwriting issues. Not all the time, but if you have collections that are non-medical that exceed a $2,000 amount and we're trying to go FHA, if you can't take a 5% liability hit to the debt to income ratio, you're really not going to get across the finish line unless you could save up money to address the collections. And I know that's a little bit jargony, weird for people who are not in real estate, but what we mean by that is if you have $5,000 worth of collections that are non-medical, you times it by 5%, which would be $250. They would add that into your liability as if you're making a payment towards that debt. And then it limits the amount of house you can buy. So people can get away with it, but if you're on a very, very tight limited income, as you know, the Austin market's pretty tight. You really want to have as much buying power as possible. So that's one of the big things we want to touch base on. But we'll let you guys gear the questions. I just want to introduce it that way.
Gotcha. Hey, I appreciate all that, Andrew. I took some notes. I like what you said about talking about positive credit, not as and not just as well, just focusing on the negative items as well too. So I think that'll be a good point to talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
I guess my question to you, Andrew, is kind of, can we start it off with what are some of the mistakes that you see most people make in regards to their credit?
So the most common mistake that people make going late on a small credit card, like a $200 credit card, it's pretty astonishing how many people look at it and say, hey, it's just $20, Evan, it's not that big of a deal, right? But really, in reality, that $20 late payment could drop your score anywhere between 50 to 150 points, depending on how good of a score you have. So if you have an 850 credit score, never been late once, and you get one 30-day late, it's not proportionally held down. You lose 150 points overnight. If you're at a 600 credit score, you lose about 50, 60 points from one 30-day late. And people just don't really grasp the seriousness of a small 30-day late, whether it's a $20 late or a $500 late. The algorithm doesn't read the amount, it just reads that you went late, and it's trying to warn everyone, don't lend people this money because they're slipping. And the other issue is as from a loan perspective, from the lender's side, if you can't pay $20 a month, why do you want them to lend you anywhere between $1,000 to $3,000 a month? That's the big issue that we have at hand. Is that's probably the biggest misconception out there. Another one is paying off collections. It just seems like it's the right thing to do, right? Naturally, it feels good, right? I've made some mistakes. I'm going to right myself of my wrong and pay these collections off. My score should go up if I do the right thing, right? Wrong. So the reason, yeah, I'll explain it to you guys. The reason why is because it creates wealth discrimination. Okay, so I saw one of the funniest things that I saw was your guys' billboards. You know, they're like, hey, if you don't like Trump, you know, we can help you sell a house. The Waters billboard. So that's how a lot of people know you guys, right, by that billboard. But let's talk about it. If you're Donald Trump and you have $10,000 worth of collections, how hard would it be for you to pay off? Not very tough, right? Pretty straightforward. But if you're a single mom raising 5 children by yourself and you only make $30,000 a year, $10,000 worth of collections is next to impossible to pay off. So the main reason why you can't just pay off collections and expect your score to go up is it creates wealth discrimination. If you could imagine, wealthy people wouldn't learn their lessons. If you could just—
Did you say wealth discrimination?
Yeah, exactly. And if you can imagine, if wealthy people could just pay off collections and expect their score to go up, they would let things falter all the time. They would let things go to collections, go late. They'd be like, oh, it doesn't really matter. I'll just pay these things off and get a home loan. Well, that's what they're trying to prevent. So that's the main reason why you can't pay off collections and expect your score to go up. But the main reason why your score drops when you pay off collections, which is pretty nasty and doesn't really make sense to people, is because of credit report coding. So credit reports are coded. When you make a good payment, they notate it with a 1. When you make a 30-day late, they notate it with a 2. So on and so forth to a 7, which means bankruptcy, 8 means repossession, and then a 9 means collection. Once a 9 is coded on your credit report, it means that it's a collection. And when you go and pay off that collection, that 9 coding doesn't change. That's really the big issue. So when I go and pay off a collection, the 9 coding as a collection stays the same, but there's also a thing called a date of last activity or last activity date, which is the date you last paid on an item or the date the item went to collection. So let's talk about it. Let's say it's a medical collection that happened 4 years ago. It would have a date of last activity of 5 of 2015. Or 5 years ago, 2014. You pay off that collection, that data last activity goes from 5 of 2014 to 5 of 2019. It's still connected to a code 9, and so the algorithm reads it as if it's a brand new collection, even though it's a $0 balance. So you might pay off something that's 5 years old that's only holding down the score 20 points, and if you pay that off, it can actually drop your score as much as 40, 45 points by doing the right thing. So that's the most common error that I see a lot is a loan officer tells a client, hey, your credit's not where it needs to be. Client goes in, if they have money, pays off collections, and is like, hey, you know, I'm ready to start credit repair, but in actuality, they push themselves further back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so really the better thing to do is to not pay off anything. Definitely pay your bills, okay? So one confusing thing is we tell customers, don't pay your collections off, but then I got an email the other day, hey, I haven't been paying my bills, and I was like, holy cow, like that's not what we told you to do. But so still make sure you pay your bills, but your collections, don't pay them off until we talk to you and tell you what to do, okay? Because some collections will accept a payment for deletion. So a very common person out there in Austin that has a lot of medical collection is going to be merchants and professionals. Merchants and professionals hold a lot of debts out there. They're a local Austin collection company, and they will always accept a payment for deletion. So that's something you can do. Two big companies like Portfolio Recoveries and Midland Funding. Portfolio Recoveries just changed their policy. They're now taking payments for deletions. Midland Funding will, as long as it's 2 years or older. So if they accept a payment for deletion, it's great. But if they tell you, hey, we'll mark this as paid in full, satisfied, good standing, all those things sound really great, right? It sounds like you're getting warms and fuzzies, but actually you're just pretty much getting screwed over if you pay off that collection. And then there's the conundrum. There's some collections that are beneficial to pay off, and that would be a charged off credit card held by the original creditor. So a charged off credit card held by the original creditor is actually beneficial to pay off, like a Wells Fargo, Chase, or Bank of America charged off credit card. The reason why is, although you're going to push forward that data loss activity, which is going to have a little bit of a negative impact on the score, you're going to clear out the revolving debt section of the credit score, the amounts owed, and gain some points. So you might lose 15 points by paying off the collection and pushing forward the date, but it gained 40 points in another section, so you still gain some points. So that's what's really confusing about credit is it's an algorithm, and an algorithm is extremely confusing. And one action that you do can affect one part negatively and affect another section positively. And so that's, speaking about algorithms, the other error that we run into this is how many clients have we ran across that, hey, my Credit Karma score is 680, Evan. Why did the loan officer pull my credit and it's a 580, you know? And so let's talk about that, okay? First things first, most people's the common misconception out there, as soon as they see a score is different than what Credit Karma says, then at a mortgage office, the reason why people assume that is they think it's different information. However, the information is exactly the same. The only thing they don't have is they don't have Experian on Credit Karma. So information is identical. The big difference is that it's an algorithm is the difference. So what they use, Credit Karma uses, is a Vantage scoring algorithm. For them, what it is, it's about inflated about 50 to 60 points. It's more of a credit card algorithm, and mortgage industry uses what is called FICO algorithms, and 3 specific ones. That's Beacon 5.0, Classic 04, and Fair Isaac version 2 are the 3 algorithms that are specifically used in the mortgage industry. And of those, so then the other conundrum that you get is, well, you pulled up my Vantage, that's a Credit Karma score, and you said it's a Vantage score, but when I look at my credit card, it says I have a FICO score of 680, but Brian Campbell at Supreme Lending pulled up a 600 credit score. You know, why is that? Why? And you're telling me those are FICO scores. Why is this FICO score different than the other FICO score? Well, the reason why that is because FICO scores, the FICO algorithms are different based on the industry, okay? So a credit card FICO score is going to be much more loose than a mortgage FICO score, because I think all of us in the room would agree a $1,000 or $10,000 credit card is much less risk than a $300,000 house in Austin. That's pretty much what it is. So they're a lot more strict on the algorithm that they use in the mortgage industry. The other thing is a lot of these companies are trying to get you to elicit you to buy things, okay? So a lot of people are super confused. One of my clients said, hey, why would TransUnion, who's one of the 3 major credit bureaus, give me a score of 680 when all these other people tell me I have a score of or when you're telling me I have a mortgage score of 600? Why is that so different? Well, let's talk about that, okay? TransUnion itself specifically, they are trying to elicit you to buy things. So they are going to make you, try to get you to have a higher credit score so you feel better about your credit score. Statistically, it's a proven fact. We're more likely to talk about our sex life than we are to talk about our credit life. That's how crazy it is. So a couple things. TransUnion wants you to make you feel better about yourself, okay? Especially men. In nature, you know, who has the pretty feathers? Is it the males or the females? It's the male birds, right? They have all the pretty feathers because we have to track the females. So here's the thing. If I have a 600 credit score, I'm not going to go around and ask someone in the office, hey, Christy, you want to go on a date? I have a 600 credit score. You're going to be like, hey, you're brother, you know? But if I think I have a 700 credit score, I'm going to be puffing out my chest or my feathers, acting like I have really pretty feathers, talking about my credit score and people are going to ask me, hey, Andrew, where'd you pull your credit from? Oh, transunion.com, they're awesome. Just pay them $30 a month. So that's one thing they're trying to do, is try to sell their credit monitoring services. But the other issue is they're trying to get you to apply for debt. Because here's the deal. If you apply for debt and don't qualify, does the credit bureau still get paid? Absolutely. They still get paid because they pulled up that information. What's the cherry on top of it, or the icing on the cake? You do qualify for a credit card. And now that company pays them every single month that it reports to the credit bureaus. So that's why they're trying to make you feel better about your credit score, because they want you to apply for debt because they get paid for it. And if you qualify for debt, they get paid even more. Same thing with this whole new Experian Boost thing. The credit bureaus don't do anything out of the kindness of their heart, okay? So I chuckled the other day when they said, hey, Experian is offering free credit boosts where we can tie it to your bank account and track your payments for your utility bills, because Austin Power doesn't show up on there. We're gonna track your rent payments because rent payments aren't showing up on credit reports. And we're doing this to help boost your credit score, all for free. Well, let's talk about that. Another thing, okay? So that specifically, you have a situation where you didn't, the reason why they're eliciting you to go and use Experian Boost is because they're saying, hey, if you didn't qualify for a credit card or an auto loan, go apply for Experian Boost to boost up your credit score. Because A, you didn't qualify for the loan and we can't get paid every single month. So we want you to tie your bank accounts to it. We want to track your payments, boost up your credit score so you do get qualified for a credit card and auto loan. So now we get paid every single month. I don't know this as facts, but I've been doing this for a long time that I kind of just connect the dots because the credit bureaus very rarely, they don't do any, not very rarely, they just don't do anything for free. They're a $10 billion industry. That's what all three of the credit bureaus calculated as their revenue for 2017 was $10 billion. So they're not really trying to do this as a favor to you guys. And then the other thing is the algorithm is completely different. So the auto loan industry, when I went to go get an auto loan the other day, they told me I had an 865 credit score, which I didn't even know existed. Their algorithm on the auto side, their algorithm on the auto side actually goes up to 900 when a mortgage FICO goes to like 826, 843. We always hear about 850. It doesn't even exist in the mortgage industry. So that's why it's so different too, is that an auto score goes 50 points higher, 50 to 70 points higher than a mortgage FICO. That's why you see such a huge gap in an auto FICO score to a mortgage FICO score. But yeah, those are just some mistakes that I see. But what were some other questions that some people wrote to you guys?
One that I've heard before, and I'd like you to tell us if this is myth or fact, is that paying things like off your trade lines, which are your credit lines, off will, like an automobile, that will drop your score. Is that true?
That is actually, it can be true or false. So this is why it's confusing. Yeah, you can pay off an auto loan and see a score go up. You can pay off an auto loan and see a score drop. And that's why this is extremely challenging. The other thing is if you're on a 30-year mortgage and have it set for 360 payments and you make your 360th payment, most people think they get a gold star, right? But womp, 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 it typically will drop their score. And the reason why is because 15% of your score is an average of all your open and active accounts. It's called length of credit history. And whenever you close out an account, so let's say you have a 7-year auto loan and you have a 2-year-old credit card and a 1-year-old mortgage. If you were to actually pay off that 7-year auto loan, it's the oldest account on your credit report, and paying that off will actually drop your credit score. But retrospect, let's talk about it. You have a 10-year-old credit card, you're on your year 15 of your 30-year mortgage, and you have a 7-year auto loan. Paying off that 7-year auto loan will actually help boost the score because it's the least amount of years on your credit report. Because basically what it is you would add the years. So 15 plus 10 plus 7 divided by 3, and then that's the number you'd get. But then if you remove the 7 years, it would just be 15 plus 10 divided by 2. Your average length of credit history is 12.5 years. So it went up right there. So it's an average of all your open and active accounts, and it's confusing because I literally get a loan officer that calls me about every 6 months. Andrew, I don't know what to do. Last time I told my customer to pay off a car loan, the score went up, but I just told this last customer to pay off a car loan and the score dropped. What happened there? Well, that's the thing, is you can't just assume because it worked for one person that works for everybody else.
Got you. Everybody's unique, and I guess the situation is different, right?
Oh, absolutely. But to touch on that point, what are some ways you can boost length of credit history? Because here's the deal. Right. If you're 20 years old, how do you have an average length of 25 years? So just so you guys know, length of credit history is the hardest section to maximize. It's literally the difference between 750 credit scores and 850 credit scores. Because the average length of credit history you have to have is 25 years. Well, what happens if you're 20 years old? What's the max years you can have as your length of credit history? 2 years, because you could only open accounts at 18 years old? Well, some things you can do is add on as an authorized user to a parent's account, okay? So if you have a good relationship with a parent or a friend, family member, and they add you onto a Visa, MasterCard, or Discover card that's been established for a long time, like 20 years, if I got added onto a 20-year-old credit card, it'd actually show up on my credit report as being a 20-year-old credit trade line, and can boost scores as much as 20 to 100 points overnight by being added onto that. But you got to make sure it's not a American Express, because American Express will not backlog the history. So if it's a 20-year-old account and they add you onto an American Express, it's going to show it opened up today. The other thing is you want to make sure it's been open for a long period of time. If it's only been open for a couple of years and all the other accounts have been opened up for 5 or 10 years, there's really no point adding on to it. It'll actually just hurt your credit score. And make sure there's low utilization. If the card is maxed out, it's going to affect the score negatively for the person who's being added onto it. And then the other thing is you want to make sure there's no late payments. If there's any late payments, that's going to show up and affect your payment history and affect that negatively. And so the other conundrum is people like, well, my mom's worried about adding me onto the credit card because she's afraid that's going to affect her score. So in actuality, I can never impact the other person's score. So if the person adds me on as an authorized user, it'll always go to their house. So even if they give them my address, it always goes to the primary cardholder's address. The other thing it does is that as long as they don't give me the card, I can't use the card. So I can never affect my mom by using the card. I can't go to Best Buy and tell them my social security number. If I'm an authorized user and don't have the card, I can't make any purchases. However, that person who owns the card, I can't affect them. But if they actually max out the card or go late, that can impact me. But the nice thing is if I'm an authorized user, I can get myself removed from there, and it's as if it never even existed. So if they do slip up, it's as if it never even happened. However, if I co-sign on something where I co-sign on a credit card and the other person slips up, I'm pretty much screwed. There's nothing I can do about it, nothing I can do to get out of it.
Gotcha. So Andrew, for the people out there, I mean, kind of the main types of questions that I've got are, I mean, what 2 tips can you leave with us to improve our credit today that we can do ourselves, or just any tip really? 2 tips.
Absolutely. Okay, so the biggest tip is if you're going to do credit repair and you don't have a credit card, you should get a credit card first. Like if you're getting a credit repair and you don't have a credit card, you're literally just wasting time and you're overpaying credit repair. A lot of companies love to do that. Like if you literally start when you don't get a credit card, you'll literally never get across the finish line and they'll just keep dragging out monthly servicing fees. But let's talk about a credit card specifically. So if you have a maxed out credit card and you can pay it off, if you have all maxed out credit cards and you can pay them all off to like a 10% utilization, that alone can get you about 80 points. However, if you don't have a credit card, this is the most simple trick to get you 60 points in just 3 months. 60 free points just by doing the simple trick. And a lot of people who are suffering with credit issues always bring up the fact, hey, I can't get a credit card. Well, I understand that, but you can get a secured credit card where you put $200 down. There's Capital One offers one. A really good one is OpenSky. It's openskycc.com, where they don't do any credit checks. So Capital One's a great one, but they do a credit check. OpenSky doesn't do any type of credit check. But if you put $200 down, they'll give you a $200 credit card with the $200 limit. Your $200 that goes into the deposit, it doesn't just magically disappear. It stays in a CD account, and after 12 months, if you've made your payments on time, they're going to release the money back to you. And what ends up happening is you get a card with a $200 limit. All you need to do is purchase $20 in gas or groceries, put it away for a full month, wait till you receive the bill in the mail, open it up, pay the bill off, on the same day you pay it off, put $20 in gas or groceries on there, put it away for a full month, get your next bill for $20, pay that off in full, and the same day you pay it off in full, put $20 in gas or groceries on there. So once a month, you're going to pay it off in full, and once the same day you pay it off in full, you're going to put a purchase on there. And if you can do this for 3 months, you're going to boost your scores up 60 points if you never had a credit card. It's really, really simple. And let's talk about how credit cards report, okay? So most of the time, people think that every time you swipe your credit card, that's what gets you points. Or how many times you pay your credit card off, that's what gets you points. No, once a month, the card reports the balance compared to the limit. And depending on where the balance is compared to the limit, that will determine your score for the next 30 days. So that's why it's important to put a purchase on there the same day you pay it off in full, because what I don't want to happen is where the customer pays it off in full, waits 2 weeks to put a purchase on there, and then it reports a $0 balance to the credit bureaus. That alone will actually, it's crazy. If you have a credit card and it reports a $0 balance to the credit bureaus, it actually hurts your score because they feel like they're not making money off of you. So that's one of the things that's going on there. And then the other thing is when you're in credit repair is save, save. There's not some magical fairy or pixie dust or fairy dust that I can do to get everything off of the credit report. So the more that you can save, the easier it makes it to get you across the finish line. Fixing credit scores is not very hard. It's just tricking an algorithm to read it correctly. But the really biggest problem is addressing the underwriting issues like child support, tax lien issues, judgments, collections that exceed $2,000, student loans and collections, okay? Because here's the deal, the one thing that's so frustrating about this industry is I see posts all the time about getting student loan collections off of credit report. Judgments or tax liens, getting them off the credit reports. Well, first off, judgments and tax liens aren't even on credit reports anymore. So I can't believe people even post that they can get them off credit reports because they're not even on a credit report. It's on a LexisNexis pool. And let's just say magically I get a student loan collection off a credit report. It doesn't even matter if I get a student loan collection off a credit report because they're going to pull up a CAVERS report, which is going to show that you haven't paid your student loans and they're in collections and you're still not going to get a loan. So the one thing is save, 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 okay? Credit is not very tough to fix if you're dealing with the right company that's going to tell you what to do rather than what you want to hear. And then if you can fix the credit score, the biggest obstacle is addressing the underwriting issues. So that would be really my second tip. But really the other thing is just making sure you control your credit card balances, stay on time with your bills, and save. If you can really do those three things, we can pretty much fix everybody's credit reports. But if you can't save, the nice thing too is here's the deal. There's a lot of people who are on here today and a lot of people who can't afford my servicing, and that's not a problem, okay? Affording servicing is, if you're paying me your last $100 to be in my credit repair and you can't save up money, you're really not a good fit. However, there's companies out there like Operation Hope, that's a local nonprofit that offers no-cost credit repair. But you have to be motivated. So me and Noreen Wilson here in Colorado, we team up all the time on things, and we laugh about it because at the end of the day, what it takes is participation, okay? It always takes participation when it comes to credit repair. I can't do everything for you. That's why I call my company Synergy. It takes your help just as much as I need your help, you need my help as well. And we laugh about it because at Operation Hope, it's a great company. It's all across the nation. But you have to be motivated yourself. You can't get discouraged when you don't get the results. And here's the deal: is your credit didn't happen overnight. Your bad credit. It took 7 years to get to this point. So it takes a commitment to fix this. So it doesn't happen overnight to fix it because it didn't happen overnight to create it. And then so what you really need to do in this situation is you need to actively participate. With Operation Hope, you have to take a 3-hour financial literacy class. My colleague Noreen was actually willing to go to her neighbor's house and give her the class inside of her house instead of having her come to the library with a group of people. And you know what her neighbor's response was? Hey, can't you just do this for me? And that's the mentality that a lot of people have, is like, we can't do everything for you, okay? Same thing with a lot of my customers. I feel like I'm just doing everything. Well, yeah, here's the deal. I need you to do these things. I understand that I'm asking you to do a lot of things, but you would have never known to do these things unless I told you. And so that's the other problem too, is give credit where credit's due, okay? Just because you're the one taking the steps to pay things off, but you're seeing point gains, don't think that we're not the ones helping you to do it. We're telling you what to do. Essentially, anybody can fix their credit, okay? But it's just like losing weight. Anybody can lose weight here. All of us in this room can lose weight. But does it help to have a coach that can tell you what to do, what to sleep, eat, or drink? Absolutely. And that's exactly what we do, is anybody can fix their credit, but we speed up the process because instead of you making the mistake of eating the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, paying off collections, we tell you exactly what to do and how to do it. But because you're taking these action steps, give credit to us, you know? It doesn't mean that, hey, we're not the ones doing this. We're the ones telling you essentially what to do. Same thing with Operation Hope. They're going to tell you what to do, but you have to do it. I even had my loan officer the other day ask me, hey, can I pay you for the credit repair for the clients? I'm like, look, you know what? I'd rather you not. Most credit repair companies love it because they want to make money either way. I tell you, don't pay me, because here's the deal. Your customers don't take it serious if you pay me. I'd rather have you guys give a credit at the end. So what some of my colleagues do is they'll give a credit at the end, and that's how I prefer to do. So you can actually keep them motivated. They're paying for it. Because here's the deal, if you're paying me for a service, you don't want to keep paying me forever. So you're more motivated to do the things I asked you to do. But if Evan's paying for your servicing, you're not really motivated to not pay for it anymore. So you're not as motivated to take the steps to do it. So that's what I always say, is participation and motivation are extremely key. Same thing for everybody's life decision. Whether you're a good real estate agent or a good credit repair guy or good at whatever you do, or good in getting your credit fixed, it takes three things. It takes a decision, a commitment, and action. And I call it the DCA. If I make a decision to fix my credit and I take some action, but I don't make a commitment to it, well, like I said, it's 7 years of habits. It doesn't fix itself overnight. It won't happen. If I make a decision, I make a commitment to fix the credit, but I take no action, I'm not going to get there either. So that's what it always takes to really get across the finish line, is a decision, a commitment, and an action.
Gotcha. Well, Andrew, I appreciate you tuning in and sharing your knowledge with everybody. Where can people find you? What number can people call, so they can get a free, credit assessment or anything like that?
Oh yeah, thanks. And so, yeah, you can go to our website. It's synergycreditpros.com. So that's SYNERGY, credit, and then pros with an S, PROS.com. Or you can go ahead and call our office. It's 713-422-2030. And once again, that's 713-422-2030. And no, I really appreciate your guys' time and definitely look forward to helping some of these clients out,
Yes, sir. Thank you, Andrew, for doing this with us. Everybody, for the people, we did have people that hop on the stream. Please help correct me if I'm wrong with anything. I kind of like to always recap what we talked about. So for everybody that tuned in today, we were talking about ways to improve your credit. The two biggest mistakes that people make when doing this is being late on their payments, even if it's like a minuscule amount. It could be like $5 or $20. That's what we talked about with Andrew today. It could affect your score by anywhere from 50 to, we said 150 points. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And then also too, guys, when you guys pay off your collections, that also hurts your score. Please rewatch the video so you can go back through that. Andrew, he goes into great detail in explaining that to you guys. Two tips that we talked about today to help improve you guys' credit is to get a credit card. It's really that simple. Get a credit card.
If you don't have one.
If you don't have one.
Yeah, or
pay it off, and then immediately after you pay it off, put something on that card, grocery, whatever, so you can keep that credit right, positive and good, right?
Yep, exactly.
Gotcha. And then, there was one other thing. You also mentioned Operation Home for the people out there that can't afford your services, Andrew. That they will be able to, it's another resource to be able to help you guys. But I highly recommend you guys speak with Andrew. He can give you guys the accurate scores that you guys do need, because I know you guys go to Credit Karma and all these other places. If you actually speak with Andrew, call that number, they can give you a free assessment of where your credit score is kind of actually at in regards to your FICO score. So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Krista?
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew, for spending time with us this morning and sharing all your knowledge. I think the top thing that people need to understand is it's not a cookie cutter answer. There's no one thing it's going to apply. It's going to really be about your situation. So everyone needs to look at their specific situation, have a conversation with you or someone from your team, see if that would work for them, and get going from there.
Yep, absolutely, because everybody's got different loans. Some people need down payment assistance, some people don't, and it really depends. It's really pretty simple to fix credit if you can save up money and stay on time. So everybody's situation is unique, and definitely would be happy to speak with everybody about their specific situation.
Well, thank you again, and we're probably going to have you back on the show. There's a lot more we can dive into.
Yeah,
oh,
thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, and I'll field out any questions too that we see on the post. So if anybody wants to write any type of questions on the post, I'll be happy to answer any of those posts that we see.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.